Hello everyone. This is the last class last week for philosophy 67, right? Political philosophy. And this week you're reading this book, right? The Making of the Indebted Man by Maurizio Lazzarato. And I highlighted some sections, some passages for you yesterday, and so you'll find it in on Blackboard. And so read everything that is assigned in the syllabus, but especially focus on those highlighted pages, passages. Especially, I believe you should maybe focus on chapter 2, which is called the genealogy of that and that. So the main I just want to highlight some of the most important concepts here, certainly that of debt itself, right? And the debt economy or extortion economy. For example, you find the word, right, the expression extortion economy toward the end of the book on page 160. But that's the idea and of the book, and also the concept, very important, of the entrepreneur of the self, right, that comes back often. You find that, for example, one occurrence of that, I believe it's precisely at the beginning of chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, on page 37, the entrepreneur of the self. The idea that we had to produce ourselves in a certain way, according to modalities that are both of subjection and subjugation. I would call attention to this is actually in chapter 3, but one of the most fascinating, perhaps, moments in this book, right, when Lazzarato speaks of, by using also other writers' work, gives the example of right, the ATM machine on page 147, 148, and how digital technology has changed our lives, right, and our relating to the world and to ourselves, right, to our own self, right, and the idea of the wonderful concept that you will find there on page 150. I mean, there is this idea of the hold on subjectivity already on page 146, and then the idea, the concept of the individual on page 148, individual, which is, then usually we speak of the individual, but in would be not, right? It's the negation. The individual is part of a larger, entity, a larger reality, which would be, in this case, also the what some people also call the machinic assemblage, right? I mean, our being together with the machine, whether it's the smartphone, the iPhone, and so on and so forth, the laptop, and so on and so forth, right? That's a very interesting concept in itself. What does it mean to speak of the visuality rather than individuality? I probably mentioned this before, but I just wrote, maybe I'll show it to you as well. My book, just a moment, that came out, if I find it, who knows where I put it. Okay, um, yes, came out just last month. Okay, that it's singularities, right? The threshold, the ontology of unrest. This is, and I speak about this concept of the individual as well, individuality, trans individuality. Okay, there is this concept of trans individuality, right? What goes beyond the individual, if you will, but the concept of the individual, especially of the neoliberal tradition, as you see in this book by Lazzarato as well, is very problematic, right? The individual who makes choices, independently and in a sovereign manner, and so on and so forth. That is largely a fiction. In this book, you will find so many references, and more than that. I mean, it's based on many philosophers, but certainly also Marx, that we had done some, and Nietzsche. We haven't studied Nietzsche in this class per se. Maybe I made references to him. If you had taken modern philosophy with me, or if you have read Nietzsche, otherwise in other contexts, you may relate better to those moments in which Lazzarato speaks of Nietzsche as well, uses Nietzsche and Marx, right? Nietzsche and Marx and so on. But otherwise, if you have questions, ask, okay, as you read, especially those references to Nietzsche, the creation of memory, and so on and so forth, and ultimately the critique of this idea of the individual as a free, independent, rational, reality, entity, and so on. And there is this idea, instead of the digital, how digital technology, right, and then the banking system, and so on, the financialization of everything changes our lives in the way it is doing as we speak, right? So I ask you, I don't want to be too long, this indebted man, this entrepreneur of the self, is a new subjectivity, right? That's basically the idea, which is something that we participate in producing. And this, according to, we have studied that Foucault, right? Discipline and punish, right? I mean, if you go back, you will see that there is a link, very, it's made explicit by Lazzarato, back to the work of Foucault. Okay, so make sure that you do again these last writing assignments for this week, and then at the end of the semester you also have this final reflective essay, which must be done into 2 stages. Okay, you write 2 drafts. The first one will be sent, this in addition to the writing assignments for this week, right, which are due basically at the end of this week, which is December 11th. But then for the final week of what would be the final exam week, we are not taking any exam per se. You write this final reflective essay, which is made into 2 stages and 2 parts. Okay, so you give a sense of the course as a whole, what you have found important, interesting, and so on and so forth, right? Give an outline of what we have done, and then maybe choose one of or two, but one of the texts that we saw. It can be Hegel, Marx, Lazzarato. It can be right. Last time we saw Lordon with the question of passionate servitude, and so on and so forth. Whatever, you can go back to Carl Schmitt or Heidegger and so on, Fanon, or Dalla Costa and James, and so on. In any case, so you choose at least one text, right? It can be also 2, and write a deeper, right, critical analysis. So that's your reflective essay that you will post on Blackboard under week 9.13. Okay, so but it must be done in 2 stages. Okay, so you will send me the first draft by December 14th, next Monday, not tomorrow, December 14th, and then I will get back to you with some feedback. Perhaps, usually it's good, just revise something, or it might be okay the way you wrote it, and send then the final draft by December 18th, which is the last, am I right? Yes, a day, Friday, December the 18th of the semester, right? And write this essay in the order of at least 600 words, okay? So I hope all this is clear. So let me know if you have questions, and I hope you enjoyed the semester, that perhaps would have been better if we were in the face-to-face situation, but okay. So let me know. Thank you. Bye.